All right, ladies and gentlemen, for those that don't know, so Nico Oso, iHeartRadio, streaming worldwide right now with the worldwide sensation. You know what time it is. California's in the building. I'm talking about Bryce Vine. Let's go.
Wow, what an intro. Thank you.
How we doing, man?
Good, man. Good. Better now.
So talk to me a little bit about this body of work. If I had to describe this with one word, I would say it's an evolution. I would say Motel California is an evolution of Bryce Vine. Now, you putting it out now, it's been out for a few, I want to say weeks, right?
Yeah, we can say that.
Few weeks. How does it feel to be on the outside now?
Oh, man. You know, it's funny. At least for me, when you release a project, you're already kind of like a year ahead of it. Mm-hmm. You know? Just because you've been listening to these songs for months and months and months, and now they're new for everyone else and all your fans, and you get to see how they react to it. Mm-hmm. And my favorite thing is seeing what situations they tag the songs to. You know, I see guys with their dogs at some lake, you know, tagging the days, and I'm like, oh, that's exactly what I was thinking. Like when I wrote that. That's the situation. That's the cool part.
That's exactly what the intent was for.
You know?
I love that. So when it comes to, and would you say that when it comes to your music and this new project, how would you describe the intent that you made it with?
Yeah, I didn't really get to ever take my time to make an album. Mm-hmm. It's only my second one. Mm. The first album, I just had to put out all the songs that I had ready because I had a hit before I had the full album.
Right.
Subtle flex.
Subtle flex.
But
major flex. You know how hard it is to come up with a hit record, and then not only that.
Yes, I do.
But you had to. Actually, you would be the one. You would be the one. So, but you had to follow it up with the rest of the project. So, tell me a little bit about how the rest came.
Yeah. Motel California was kind of the album that I wanted to be able to put out years ago. So I just wanted to write a bunch of songs that I wanted to listen to.
Right.
I always tell new artists, just write a song that you want to hear. You know, if you can't think of anything else.
Yes.
What's something that's missing in this moment, in this memory? And so now that I have fans to kind of base things off of, I know what they want to hear, and I know what they want to listen to, and I know what I want to hear. So I kind of just make a compilation of those songs, the good and the bad of life in this Motel California setting, and kind of let them make it the soundtrack for whatever situation.
Yeah, and I felt that. I felt like I was literally walking through this experience where in each room there was a different vibe and a different situation, and I feel like people can take any song off this track list and kind of relate to it. What about, I want to talk about this one that I have here, because this is one of my favorites. I wrote this one down. This is nuts. Rocky Mountain is the first one that I want to talk to you about. Can you tell us how that came about, and maybe how you feel about it now that it's out to the world?
A lot of things happen in a year. One of them, for me, this last year was a breakup. That was different than most, because I actually really, really liked the person. And it just wasn't right timing. And the day that I knew and we had, had that final breakup moment, I went into the studio, the guy who produced the whole thing, Jimmy Duvall, and I was just like, I don't know what else to do but write. I just don't know what else to do with my hands,
Right.
But otherwise, it's just going to all stay up here. And so I kind of wrote that song just as to unleash all those feelings of sadness that happens when you break up with someone that's actually great.
Yeah. Do you find with the experience that you have now, sophomore album, you've been it, you've done it, you've had the hits. Do you find that, how does it feel to open up and put yourself on these records? Like, that's a personal experience. I can only imagine the way that you felt, on the inside going through this breakup. Like, has it become easier putting that vulnerability out into the world? Sometimes
I just don't want to be vulnerable. Sometimes I don't want to write from my own experiences.
Yeah.
I don't want to be so specific. You don't want
to put all your business at. Come on, man.
Yeah, just don't. I know a lot of people do, and that's kind of what people relate to a lot,
right?
The specifics, but sometimes you just don't want to do that.
Right. So then what? So then in those instances, let's say you're working on this song, you're experiencing a block. You don't want to give it 100% of yourself or your true story. So then what do you do? Is that when you pivot to some of these other records?
I try to write something that makes me feel better or makes me feel like I'm having fun.
Right. Speaking of having fun, actually, I wrote down the most fun lyric that I personally loved. From the album.
Oh, okay.
All right. And you tell me if this is accurate. 1, 2, 3, 4. Get your booties onto the dance floor. Bryce Vine, by the way. Let's make sure the quote is right under there.
You picked the one thing I didn't write. You know that.
Oh no!
Also, it's not hilarious. The most profound. So
right. No, I loved it. But tell us a little bit about that song. I feel like I said, when you're walking through Motel California, you see these different fun rooms, and I had a great time listening to some of these records, instantly getting up and dancing. Jane Fonda, correct, is one of them. So talk about some of your more fun records that you like.
Yeah, that one for sure. Jane Fonda. It was kind of a remix of a record from like 15 years ago now, that I just felt like fit once again. Into 2025.
Oh, it fit.
You know, I love bringing up famous women in the industry.
Oh, that's your favorite thing to do.
My favorite thing in the world.
Who's up next?
It's a good question. Yeah. I gotta pick somebody.
You got Lauryn Hill too. By the way, if you haven't heard this, ladies and gentlemen, stop what you're doing right now. The album in your phones already. Lauryn Hill. What about that one?
I'm actually trying to remember how we started that one. I think I'd taken a long drive to. Yeah. I got this red 65 Mustang that I love to drive when I actually am in town. And I was like, I just need a song that I could drive down the coast and listen to something fun, that I imagine my fans would want to if they were visiting California. It's kind of a love/hate letter to a lifestyle. It kind of doesn't exist anymore because LA has had a really rough patch. With the fires and now the protests and it's just been a lot of stuff. So, but still that novelty of LA, you just kind of want to capture. And Lauryn Hill is that, if you listen to it. Yeah.
Speaking about LA, I feel like you're the leader of this new Americana sound, right? Do you feel like the fact that you kind of represent, where you're from so well, there's a lot going on always, as a city, you battle some of these things, the natural disasters, stories. Like, do you feel like your music kind of empowers the people that live there, that resonate with you and your culture? Have you ever taken an outside perspective look on your sound as an artist and maybe the role that you play within the California culture?
I just try not to be too grandiose with it. We're
not doing that.
Yeah.
You are him, bro. We're here to give you flowers today, and so I think at some point you do play a major role in developing the sound and just being out there in LA, bro. California is it's what you embody. Even driving up here today, for example, super rainy, not the vibe, what East Coast stuff, but you press play on Motel California and you captured that essence in a bottle and you're presenting it to the world,
Thank you, man. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Again, I just try to, when I write a song, I just want it to be a soundtrack for whatever the situation is that people that are listening, the fans are in whatever mood they're in. So I try to write a song for whatever that vibe is.
Right.
I feel like a pretty normal guy. So when I am longing for a song, it doesn't matter how old it is or when it came out, or it just makes you feel a certain way. And my dad always says, people don't always remember what you said or what you did, but they remember how you made them feel. So I just kind of try to keep that in mind with everything.
Dude, last thing, because we do got to get out of here in just a second. Going back to your point, how someone makes you feel, I would love to bring this up. I've been waiting for the opportunity to just sit in front of you and talk about our shared experience in Philadelphia, because I feel like you take some of that experience and you put it into your work. And so Bryce and I, do you want to tell the story of us trying to find a chill cool spot to hang out with not loud music.
Oh my God.
Not too much going on.
It is impossible to find a quiet room that's also busy.
That's also busy.
So I didn't realize, partly it's just because I'm getting older. But places are way too loud now. Mm-hmm. And I sound like a geezer saying it. But it's true. They're so loud.
You got the arm cross geezer look too.
Dude, I
don't like it's too loud in here.
I stand on it. I can't talk to anybody.
Me neither.
And in a social environment, it sounds counterproductive to literally have to yell at the top of your lungs. I was trying to get to know you. Right. I really vibed with you, and I had friends there, and I couldn't talk to anybody. I just stood there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I guess I'll get drunk, because maybe that'll make it easier to yell.
You know when you get into those situations, you know when you just had a day and you drive home and you sit in your driveway and you just take the keys out of the ignition and you just sit there and you're just like...
And it's quiet for a moment?
I did that for a good 30 minutes after I got home because I was like, what was that? Like... All I wanted to do was have a simple conversation with Bryce Vine, connect. He's in the city, and we couldn't get it done, but we got to come here and make it happen.
No shame on Philly either. It exists in so many other places.
Go Birds. It's all good. Just we got to get a lounge or something going, something with a little lower music and more of a... Let me ask you this last question before we get out of here. How important is the fact that people don't do that anymore? People aren't connecting with low music. People aren't sharing genuine experiences without some sort of stimulant, some sort of loud this or that or entertainment, or we need, how do you feel about that just personally, like you as a person?
Yeah, you're just getting serotonin boosts from so many different places now, and it's so rapid. Mm-hmm. It's just like our phones.
Do you try and stay? Big thing. Do you try and stay away from that? Are you a person that can control yourself? Do you turn it off?
Dude, I have to. Yeah, I think it ruins creativity a lot of times. The overstimulation.
Absolutely.
Especially if you are creative, you need to take time where you can actually sit still and not have something to focus your energy and your attention on besides your own innovative thoughts that you might have. Mm-hmm. And it's like you can replace that now by just going on to your phone and watching endless videos, and it's like,
right,
it can't be good for you. I have a thing on my phone. I downloaded an app specifically that would block my social media certain times a day, because the time limit thing on your iPhone doesn't do it.
Yeah, you just turn it off.
You can just turn it off.
Nope, I want more time.
You change your mind. Yeah. This actually forces you, and you have to take a time to remove it from... And it makes it so I actually do some of the things I want to do.
Right.
Yoga is a helpful one for me because you have to take an hour and you have no choice.
You have to disconnect.
You're just with yourself.
Yeah.
Sometimes in your thoughts and disconnecting. You really need to take those moments that are few and far between now. But I think younger people are getting tired of social situations where they can't do that.
Yes.
Where they go out and they buy 3 drinks and it's $120 and then they can't flirt with the opposite sex and they can't talk to each other. The most popular bar in LA right now is a place that's been around for 30 years called Barney's, and it's just a dive. It's just a dive bar with pool tables, and they play country and old rock songs.
Yeah.
And they charge $10, $12 for a drink. I think that's coming back.
Yeah,
in a big way.
I really hope so, and I think that that's where we should be. There's too much noise out there. Let's get back to reconnecting with people over some genuine times.
We sound so old.
All right. What time is time for bed? I think Nico Oso.
All I hear in my head when I say this stuff that I'm like, yeah, this is totally true, and then all I hear in the background is "Okay, Boomer."
Yeah,
and I'm not
shut
even
up
that.
And go play chess. Go eat your oatmeal. Nico Oso, Bryce Vine.
Your oatmeal. That's
from coast to coast. You know this boy is good, man. The album in your phone's already. Go grab that. Motel California, Bryce Vine, ladies and gentlemen.